This is Journal TV, and I'm Jerry Clark. We're delighted to have with us today the relatively new county administrator, Jon Lanford, who took his position earlier in the summer, had an unfortunate situation faced with one of the worst floods in years, and since that time has really been very nicely received by both the board and the community, as Jon had been assistant county administrator for quite a while. So Jon joins us today to talk about a couple of issues that the public may be interested in, and we welcome you, Jon. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
Could you explain the effort at joint economic development that you've come up with Covington? This is extraordinary. We're not supposed to get along this well around here.
So I wish I had a profound really explanation for how it came about, but it's fairly simple in its theory, and we, through some long car trips together, Richard Douglas and myself, the new city manager in the city, just broached the topic as we traveled back and forth to Roanoke for regional meetings, and modeled it off of something that's been successful elsewhere, and that's most recently in Roanoke. They just used, through the Western Virginia Industrial Facilities Authority, the same concept that we're in the process of developing here. The Board of Supervisors actually tomorrow night will endorse a submission to the Commission on Local Government, the actual agreement for joint revenue sharing. And it really, at the end of the day, it's just something that it makes sense. What's good in the city of Covington, what's good in the town of Clifton Forge, what's good in Iron Gate or Alleghany County is good for the Highlands, and we have to work together if we're going to be competitive from an economic development perspective, not only in our region, but in the mid-Atlantic states. That's who we're really trying to compete with.
It's an extraordinary achievement before anything actually has been accomplished. I mean, this is a great attitude that people around here have looked forward to having for years. Why don't we switch topics briefly? You've got at exit 21, I believe, in Lowmore, there might be a challenge there. Susan Hammond has talked to us about it. What do you think is going to happen there in the next couple months? What do you expect to be the major challenge there?
Well, there'll be two, part of, and I think Lowmore has a great potential, and hopefully with the development of the property next to the county government complex, with Love's as their travel plaza and the interstate improvements, hopefully that'll be kind of the start of some more activity in the Lowmore area. But I think there's going to be, running down parallel paths, two large construction projects right there at the exit 21, which for most of the day is not a traffic problem. When you have those peak hour times with schools in and out, mixed with the traffic already in the area with existing businesses in the hospital, early in the morning and late in the afternoon, there are challenges. You mix in construction activity, maintenance of traffic, managing all of those things over a construction season, and making sure that everybody is aware of those challenges in advance has been a priority. If you travel elsewhere, if you travel to Roanoke, you travel Greensboro, Richmond area, there's always 581s under constant transportation improvements. With those improvements come challenges during construction, and we'll be faced with something similar there, making sure that traffic moves as it's intended through construction. We just ask that people would recognize that this is associated with progress. There's some improvements coming to the interchange, and to be patient during the construction process.
Well, the county's hit a home run with this Love's project, and anytime you have some development, there might be some inconveniences, but I mean, almost everybody in the county is just astounded at the scale of the Love's project, and the fact that the county put its money where its mouth is to make the whole thing with VDOT happen. On another subject, the county residents are concerned about what looks like a problem with radar bus service. Could you update us in any fashion what's going on there?
So last week, we met, Richard Douglas and myself met with a gentleman, Neil Sherman, from the Department of Rail and Public Transit. The state is actually going to fund the shortfall in the current operating year to allow for the radar bus service to continue to operate 5 days a week as it currently does. That's a stopgap measure that's going to allow the community some time to plan for possible changes and allow people who utilize and need that service with radar to plan their schedules out accordingly, because I do anticipate that while the service will continue through this coming operating year with radar, that beginning in October of 17, we're looking at some changes to the way the service is provided. The county recognizes it's a much needed service for the people who utilize it, but at the same time, we think there's some improvements that could be not only made in the way it's marketed, but in increasing the ridership. Part of what we've asked the state to do and Neil Sherman and the agency have agreed to do is come in and provide us some technical assistance. No local dollars. State will fund the technical assistance to look at the current service and look at ways to optimize that service and how to increase it for the community. Also, Dawn Wilson's been a great champion of radar over the years, and she's also recently announced that the Ladies Auxiliary from the hospital is stepping up and has provided a fairly large contribution, $5,000, to radar for this year. In addition to what the county's already funded, the county's in a position to match that $5,000 for radar funding.
Now, this is really great news. I mean, that's something that people love to hear. Thanks for helping us out on that. But as every year, the County Board of Supervisors faces all kinds of financial challenges. I'm sure that as this new fiscal year kicks in strongly, you have a feel for what may be the most significant of those. What do you think we can expect? What is going to be your most significant challenge in the coming year?
So, for the county, what I foresee is challenging issues coming forward in the next fiscal years. We've experienced significant revenue reductions over the past 2 or 3 budget years, trying to maintain current level of service. But we also have some major capital projects that have been deferred, delayed, and not put on the table really for decision making. We have a radio system improvement project estimated to cost anywhere between $6 and $8 million for public safety, fire rescue, communications. We talked a little bit about economic development in the early portion. There's some decisions that need to be made. We need to invest some capital in our sites that we have in the community to be competitive with the region in the Mid-Atlantic states. We have sites, we have good resources, we have Lumos has built a fiber network in our community that's second to none, which is probably the most critical piece of infrastructure that businesses are looking for in today's world to locate in areas. But we don't have any sites that are ready. We have land, we have raw land, we have land that has been developed in the past and needs some improvements to rehabilitate or repurpose existing buildings, and deciding where we're going to make that investment, and then making the investment to have sites that are market ready when people come to the region to look for their next site.
Sounds like a lot's going on.
It's a good time. It's a good time. It's an exciting time. So I said this before to other people. It's a great place. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family, and it's got great potential, I think.
Thanks very much for joining us today.
Sir, thank you for having me.